Now, I'm honored because, Shady, you've won 2 Super Bowls. To my left, James Jones, you've won a Super Bowl, so there's no more Super Bowl experience that you will find amongst the cast than this one. Shady, who benefits more from a Super Bowl? Head coach Kyle Shanahan, quarterback Brock Purdy.
Spit my gum out. That's the first rule on TV. Can't talk without gum in your mouth. My bad. Run it again.
Shady, who benefits more from a Super Bowl? Kyle Shanahan or Brock Purdy?
Kyle Shanahan. We talk about how great he is as a coach, right? He could win games with any quarterback. He's took the Niners to the Super Bowl, NFC Championship, back to the Super Bowl, and they're back again. This is what he's done. So if you look at the third most regular season wins in the last 5 years, you're talking about Kyle Shanahan.
Yes, sir.
Right? If I asked you, man, name me some of the most productive coaches in the last 3 to 4 years, I'm sure he'll be up there in your top 3. Right? Where Brock Purdy, he's a good story. He's a good player. I think he's a good quarterback for the Niners. But if he loses, will we talk about it? Right? If Kyle Shanahan loses again, it's like, yo, is he really that good? What's going on with him? He can get there, but he can't win a big game. So I think that's the overall bigger picture is like Kyle Shanahan is a really good coach, and I think a Super Bowl shows that. Right? All the wins he has, I get that. The things he's done with these players, I get that. The way he drafts the players he has, I understand that.
Yep.
But the big question is, yo, can you win the big game?
Win a game, coach.
Yo, you've never beat Andy Reid. You never even beat him, ever. Regular season, preseason,
Yikes.
real season, anything. Madden? No, I'm playing. But you've never beat him, so this is the only chance. You're 0-3 against Andy Reid. What are you going to do? I feel like for the legacy part of it, your dad did it, right? A lot of guys in your coaching tree have done well, right? One of them, Sean McVay, he won a championship. What are you going to do? So I put all the credit, if he wins this game, to Kyle Shanahan. He's a great coach. But I think us saying he's a great coach from the numbers is cool. But actually going out there and getting it done and achieving it is one thing to say.
Very well said. Joy Taylor, what do you say? Who do you think benefits more, Purdy, Shanahan?
I hear you on Shanahan, but if we're talking about just pure job security, Shanahan ain't going nowhere. They're not.
That's
you just
true.
outlined all the things that he's already
They love him.
accomplished. He's going to be there for a long time. He's done a tremendous job. Him and John Lynch are there to stay. Purdy? Now, we know Purdy's capable of freaking out throwing 4 interceptions. That could happen. We saw it happen not that long ago.
That's true.
I don't think that's what's going to happen, but it did happen not that long ago. If he were to do something like that, we are right back at square one with all the questions about him. Even if he is in the Super Bowl. So he has so much more to gain. And let's not even get into the financials. If he wins the Super Bowl.
My goodness.
I mean, I think he's already earned himself a couple $100 million.
Money.
But if he wins the Super Bowl over Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, you're going to pay him. There's not even a question about if he is a franchise quarterback. What are we talking about? Of course he is. And of course he's going to get paid. Of course he's your long-term answer. So if we're talking about money, we're talking about job security, it's got to be Purdy. Now, if you're talking about legacy, I could hear you on Shanahan, but I probably still would lean Brock Purdy because the story is already woven. I mean, he's the last pick in the draft. He's Mr. Irrelevant. And look, that ain't nothing. That is a significant come up to be the last pick in the draft, completely overlooked by everybody but a few area scouts, to then be winning the Super Bowl. So I think I have to go with Purdy.
Hey, real quick, so you think if he wins this game, wins the Super Bowl, you think that he'll be probably the highest paid quarterback?
Highest paid quarterback in the National Football League.
I'm going to say it's Shanahan.
I disagree, but all right.
I'm going to say it's Shanahan. Shady, let's get to that later because that is very interesting. Reason I think it's Shanahan is because anything Purdy wins, Shanahan will get credit for. But not anything Shanahan wins will Purdy get credit for. Because if Purdy wins, well, Shanahan helped Purdy win. If Purdy wins, well, Shanahan got Purdy to the NFC Championship game 2 years in a row, including winning one. But if Shanahan wins, then Purdy can't take credit for what happens in totality for the entire body of work. I think Shanahan's Hall of Fame resume would be completely set with the win. And not only that, then you start to say, who's had a better start to their coaching career than Shanahan? You can put Shanahan's first 7 years up against anybody. Put him up against Belichick. Remember, not Belichick New England. Belichick started in Cleveland. Put him up against Andy Reid. You can now put him up against McVay. You can put him up against Tomlin. You can put him up against McCoy. Put him up against any coach since the turn of the century. I don't know of all them coaches going back to the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. But any coach since the turn of the century, Shanahan can say, through 7 years, I am just as good, if not better than you. 4 conference championship appearances in 5 years, 2 Super Bowls, including a win, and I win as an offensive coordinator. So you know I'm a brilliant mind offensively. Not to mention I've gone with different defensive coordinators. I've gone with different quarterbacks. I've gone with different star players. So I can do it with whoever. I think Shanahan, James Jones, what you say?
I think you two on that side table is crazy. That's what I think. Benefits more? Come on, man. This young fella, if Kyle Shanahan loses this game, let's say the Niners fire him. It's going to be a bunch of people knocking at his door to be the next head coach of their football team with what he accomplished in his first 7 years. Brock Purdy got MVP votes this year. He's going to a Pro Bowl. He has his team in a Super Bowl. If he wins this Super Bowl, you're talking about making $3 million to $250 million. Because whether we think he is the most athletic quarterback, talented quarterback, whatever we thinking, it don't matter. I win, and I win the Super Bowl. That's the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League. Whether you think Patty better than him, Joe better, it don't matter. It's my time, what I have accomplished in my 2 years of playing the quarterback position. I have won a Super Bowl, I have got MVP votes, and I'm to a Pro Bowl. That is $200 and some plus million, the highest paid quarterback. When you ask me who has the most to gain, Brock Purdy. Who knows if the Niners are ever going to get back here? And this one game can change this young man's life. Kyle Shanahan is set.
But don't you think it's changed? Because this is, I think, the next layer of the conversation. I think this is fascinating. Thanks, y'all, for hanging with us. Don't you think he's getting paid regardless? I believe Brock Purdy has already earned $200 million. 2 years as a starter, 25 years old. He's gone to the NFC Championship game twice in the MVP conversation, 36 touchdowns, I believe, and 11 interceptions. He's led his team to the Super Bowl. So if you all do believe that Purdy is getting paid, I fervently believe, like Jalen Hurts, he's getting paid regardless because Jalen did not win, but Jalen got there. I think at 25 years of age, 2 NFC Championship games, I think he's paid regardless. Yeah. Y'all disagree?
All that sounds good, and that could happen. But if they lose this game, most of the questions are going to be around Brock Purdy.
No doubt.
Not Shanahan.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
So if you lose this game and say you go out there and you throw 2 interceptions and you lose this game, you did the same thing Jimmy G did. You lost this game. Jimmy G got the Niners here too. Jimmy G got the Niners to NFC Championship games too. And he lost those games. So if you go out here and lose this game, we might be sitting up here talking, is Purdy the guy? We never, with Shanahan lose, we're not going to be saying, is Shanahan the coach? So Purdy, he has more to benefit if they win this game. And if they lose, I think it's going to be more questions surrounding him than it is the head coach.
I agree, and especially because this has been Shanahan's philosophy, right? Is to elevate a quarterback that we don't think is really capable of going all the way. That philosophy might get shot down if Purdy fails tremendously in the Super Bowl. I think it depends very much on how he plays. If they go toe to toe and it's a shootout, okay, like you hung with Patrick Mahomes. And that's what we saw with Jalen Hurts. That's what Jalen Hurts did. I think their careers in a lot of ways are very parallel.
Very similar.
So and because we saw what happened with Jalen Hurts this year, I think that because of the parallel nature of Purdy and Jalen Hurts' trajectory, if he does not win or struggles or has a moment in the Super Bowl where we're like, it will circle back. They're not going to get rid of Shanahan. I think it will come into question Shanahan's philosophy of building his team the way that he does, because it's just successful enough to get you there but not win it.
2-5. Talk about the money a little bit, because you brought that up.
Yeah, like, y'all think 250 though?
It's his turn.
I don't know, man. When I look at the Niners, it's like the way they win, right? Is it really Brock Purdy or is it the players around him? That's just a question you ask, because when you pay this dude 250, you won't have all them all-pros, right? You can't pay all them guys. You can't have Brandon Ayuk making that money and having Debo Samuel's making that money. George Kittle making that money. Your offensive lineman, your left tackle, your running back. Just know that. So the way y'all talking, and you have I guess a valid point. He should get paid. When you talk about 250 and up, it's like, are y'all sure? Well, you know, me and Frank Gore, I went to the game, and I won't get into all the details, but we was talking about just the team. We was with the owner, right? In the gym, we was talking about the team, and then like the philosophy of what Kyle Shanahan likes, and he talked about, well, certain players with big names, he kind of didn't need it. He's like, look, I'm going to go and get good players around my quarterback. I don't need no superstar quarterback, right? We have so much talent around him. So if I could have a good team with a young quarterback that's not making a lot of money, I could sprinkle that money around the team and make it better. So now, if that's Kyle Shanahan's philosophy, right, and you change it now, right, because I seen Kyle Shanahan take Jimmy G to the Super Bowl. I seen he take Jimmy G to the NFC Conference game more than once. So now if you change the philosophy of Kyle Shanahan and you just have a high-paid quarterback, you can't pay all the special players around you. So then what? Then you're going to really see where Brock Purdy is.
No, when
I talk about a franchise quarterback, I'm talking about, yo, if I pay this dude all the money and we can't pay all the other players, we got to go get draft picks and all that. He's that good. He's going to elevate everybody around him, young or old, and we still going to win, right? Brett Veach is one of my guys, right, since Philadelphia. He's the GM of the Kansas City Chiefs. And he was saying how, the money thing played a big factor in what players they can really get. Yeah. So if you notice, a lot of the wide receivers that they do have on the team are younger guys. They're not making no real money. They got to do that because if they don't, who are you going to get? All your guys are making a lot of big money. You can't go out there and just get a $20 million wide receiver, right? You can't really do it. So my thing is, when you talk about a franchise quarterback paying him $250, it's like, yo, can he win this game with an inconsistent wide receiver core? Some okay blocking. The defense is okay. Can he?
Well, that's a really good question because as you were talking, I'm sitting here as I'm Brock Purdy, and I'm hearing everything Kyle Shanahan is telling me, and Lynch is telling me. I just won a Super Bowl, homeboy.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts got 230.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott about to get broke off. I don't care about none of them boys.
Yeah.
I don't care about Debo. I don't care about none of them. And my agent, we want 250. Okay. And we earned the 250 because those dudes got that money and they ain't accomplished what I have accomplished.
And I'll say this part. So we're going to see. Now, we see what Jalen Hurts look like with that dominant team. Now, that team is not going to be as good coming forward, right? Prescott, he got to get paid. Micah got to get paid. CeeDee Lamb got to get paid. So they ain't going to have all the players. So we're going to get to see what they really are. My question to you is, if I'm playing that game with my agent, we want 250, all that you talking about. How many teams is knocking at this door? Yo, we want Brock Purdy. I'll let you ask that question.
But I'll say this, though, because I think it's a really fascinating conversation. It leads me to ask, like, who has more leverage? Shanahan or Purdy?
That's easy.
But, Shady, what I will say, though, is if in the event Purdy wins the Super Bowl, Joy, and Purdy has been in the MVP conversation. He has 36 touchdowns. He has those 11 picks. He's now a Super Bowl champ. To beat Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl, we know at a minimum he's going to have to play good. Maybe not elite, depending on how the Niners defense plays, but to beat Pat at a minimum, he's going to have to play good.
Yeah.
I do think at that point, teams would be, they're not going to be banging down the door, I don't think so. But at the point in which you've won a Super Bowl, gotten MVP votes, probably finished third in the MVP race, you've gone to back-to-back championship games, you're 25, would be 26 years old at that point in time, you've came back in the NFC Championship game by down 17, you came back in the divisional round by down 7, you've shown that you can run your offense well, you've shown that without Debo, you can still win a game to get you to a championship game. How could you then say he don't deserve it?
All that you just said, we still today at this conversation, everybody's always asking, is he a system guy or not? Is that one of the biggest questions with Brock Purdy?
Sure.
So for you to have all that success, all this, that, coming back, and we every day, just people ask, yo, is he the guy or is he a system guy? You see a guy like Patrick Mahomes, he does the same thing. Wins, this, that, going to AFC Championship games or Super Bowl, right? Win or lose. We ain't asking them questions. We know what we got. So I'll put the GM hat on you, brother, and you tell me.
Here's where I'm torn. They are. Here's where I'm torn is, if I'm Shanahan, I'm saying I can probably do it, I think, without Purdy. No.
Where are you going? You just
Super Bowl.
You just traded 3 first-round picks for a quarterback in Trey Lance that you traded.
That's over.
So if you win the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy and don't pay him and let him walk, where are you going?
He's going where...
Or say if you lose the Super Bowl.
He's going to go... Listen.
Who are you getting?
Let me read the numbers for you. So 4 conference championship games in the last 5 years. So when you ask them questions, where you going? I'm going back to the NFC Championship game because I keep going back there.
Yeah,
and winning
I mean, but if Brock Purdy,
so where you going?
If Brock Purdy,
you know what I'm saying?
wins the Super Bowl,
so the GPS,
he might get fired. Go ahead, Georgia.
If Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl, he's getting paid.
No doubt about it.
They're going to pay him. They're going to keep him, and whatever happens, happens. Like that is how this works. Especially because for all the talk about how great Kyle Shanahan is, and he is great, he don't have a ring.
I get that.
So all the trips and the GPS is set to NFC Championship game. If that's all the standard is, then yeah, he would feel that way. And I don't disagree with you, Shady. I think it's going to look different when Brock Purdy has to play without some of these great players.
It always does.
And I think if we all search our spirit, even though we think Brock Purdy is playing at a very high level and is a good player, there's a little bit of uneasiness that you feel, I think, about what it would look like without everybody else around. And that's fair because there's been some moments where everybody hasn't been around and it's looked particularly crazy. Or if the defense hasn't stepped up, it's not looked great. But that's the nature of the game. Like, if you have a quarterback that gets to that level and wins, you have to pay him.
I have two thoughts. I got one. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Because y'all speak of the standard. Like, the beat in conference games, only 4 teams out of 32 teams that's going there, right? So any franchise would love to be in a position to have 4 conference championship game appearances out of 5 years. Win or lose, right? It's only a certain amount of teams that's winning championships anyway. So if you're telling me that y'all got an issue with my man going to these championship games and not winning, I hear you with that. But having the opportunity to do it is major. Teams don't get to do this.
I got 2 thoughts.
This is rare.
2 thoughts. One is crazy, one not as much. My first is, can Shanahan afford to, like, completely undermine his philosophy for Brock Purdy? Because we know his philosophy is, I want to save money on a quarterback.
And it works.
I go super cheap, and it works. So can he afford to undermine his coaching philosophy, the same thing that, like Shady said, has taken him to 4 conference championships and games in 5 years? Can he afford to? Answer.
Well, I actually have a question. We said, like this week, that not winning a Super Bowl was a failure.
Yeah.
So then it doesn't work, if that's the standard. I agree with you. It's super hard to get to conference championship games. But if the standard is just getting there, then yes, he should stick to his philosophy of having a cheap young quarterback or a quarterback that he can elevate with pieces around him. He should stick to that, if that's the standard. But up until now, that's been the standard. He hasn't won the Super Bowl. And the difference between winning and losing might very well be that.
Yeah,
but my thing is
that's crazy.
That got to be between you and the quarterback. With what Brock Purdy has accomplished, if he wins this game, I understand your philosophy, or even if he loses this game, I understand your philosophy, but what he has shown you and what he has accomplished, he gonna have to say, I will take less or something like that, because what he is gonna get, he is going to have to be around the Dak Prescott numbers.
Let me bring up the crazy thought. Shady, this is close to you, is closer to me, not nearly apples to apples. You can say that it's apples to bananas if you want to. 2017, Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia Eagles. Nick Foles led that team there. Obviously, Carson Wentz was a first-round pick who they had used 2 first-round picks to acquire. He's on the roster. But Nick Foles led that team there. Nick Foles got paid. It wasn't by the Eagles. Nick Foles got paid by the Jags, $88 million. The Eagles said, hey, Foles, we know that you're good enough to win a Super Bowl. We don't know that Carson Wentz is good enough to win a Super Bowl. But we're going to stick with Carson Wentz because we believe his ceiling is higher. Now, Carson Wentz is obviously in the building. I said this is apples to bananas. It's not apples to apples. But is there a thought where it's like, wait, Brock Purdy, you're good enough to win a Super Bowl, but you're limited? Because we all know Nick Foles is limited. Is there a thought where it's like, you know what, even though you are good enough to win a Super Bowl, we're still, Kyle Shanahan, going to try to find this more talented quarterback that the world believes exists? I think Brock Purdy is great, but is there a train of thought where he wins and they still move on?
But Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft. Like, I can't give Kyle Shanahan credit for the last pick in the draft. Like, I'll give the scouts that fought for him, hey, we really want this guy. He's the last pick in the draft. Like, what's the risk? Kyle Shanahan wanted Trey Lance. Right. And he used 3 first-round picks to get him. So, again, no disrespect to everything that he's done, but the last time it was in his hands to make a power move to get a quarterback, that was the choice that he made. So...
Does he get any credit for developing them and all that?
Oh, yeah.
Sure, but, like, we're talking about replacing him and the philosophy of replacing him. You don't get credit. No one gets any credit except for the scouts that fought for him. Like, I'm sorry.
But let me ask you this, because this is the reason that irritates me is because you know the draft rooms. We know draft rooms. I'm a 6th-round pick. So even like 6th round.
I thought you were 4th.
I wish. My brother went 4th. Even like Kyle Shanahan, he swung and he missed on Trey Lance, just like they swung and missed on Robert Griffin. But they backdoored and draft Kirk Cousins just in case.
When did they draft Kirk Cousins?
In the 4th round.
2nd round.
4th. Kirk won the 4th. RG3 won the 1st, Kirk won the 4th. You swing and you miss on Trey, but you backdoor and you draft Purdy. The reason I think that matters, the furthest backdoor, the reason I think it matters is because it's like scouts have no authority. It's Shanahan, you only get 7 picks.
Yeah, scouts.
More, you really end up getting about 10, but you only get, scouts ain't got no authority. Now, he swung and missed, like they swung and missed, you could say, with Robert Griffin, but he backdoored like, oh, I'm gonna get insurance. Yeah. I'm gonna get insurance. So the reason I'm like, Joy, I feel you, but even if Shanahan's like, bruh, I still got it right. I still got it right.
I hear you, but If he was a 6th-round pick, he was the last pick in the NFL draft. It's called Mr. Irrelevant. They have a name for it. I want to do it, but I can't. I hear you. Like, this is a situation where literally the scouts were like, no, we like this kid. And it's like, okay, you're approving it because you're the head coach, but like...
But that's just, I guess I've been in the position, so I know that's just not how it goes. It sounds good on TV that, like, it's flipping, it's the last pick in the draft. Oh, he's here, we'll take this tissue paper. No, like,
that means that they also passed on him for all those rounds as well.
Correct, but there's still, like, the amount of meticulous detail that still goes into everybody picked. I just think, like, I still trust Shanahan.
He should get some credit for that.
I still trust Shanahan.
Oh, take your time.
We all know as scouts, right? There's a West Coast scout, East Coast scout. Right. Scouts are for different areas, right? Story. Rest in peace, Ted Thompson. Sammy Seal was the West Coast scout. He's still the scout for the Green Bay Packers, right? Ted Thompson told me when I got drafted, he said, you are here because Sammy Seal. He said, we were going to pass on you, and Sammy Seal stood up in that war room, and he said, if you do not take James Jones, y'all could just cancel my job, because obviously y'all don't care what I got to say. And Ted Thompson told me, we drafted you off the strength of Sammy Seal, the scout. I don't know if that was the case for Brock Purdy, but I do know scouts have an input if that's how your organization is ran, right? Remember, it was a big issue that John Gruden and Mayock wasn't listening to the scouts. They wasn't even there, so they didn't have no input. But it's the Green Bay Packers. It's a lot of teams that let their scouts have input on these guys because they are the ones on the road watching these dudes.
And there's a lot of teams that don't.
No question, right? And I don't know what the Niners is, but if the Niners scouts is like that, hey, they could have had some say in that.
So, okay, so if you don't give Kyle Shanahan credit for getting Brock Purdy, cool. But you say you give him credit for developing. So you don't think, if the last pick in the draft, you don't think that he get a 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round quarterback that could be decent?
Maybe he can, but I'm saying the last time he did, he went and got Trey Lance and used a whole bunch of draft picks and trades to do that.
Right.
So I'm not saying he won't be able to identify talent again.
Yeah.
I'm saying that if we're talking about not paying Brock Purdy after winning a Super Bowl,
Right.
we're not going to pay him market value and we're just going to replace him. I feel like that is
not only that, though.
I guess, you got a point, because it's like,
sounds crazy.
If you go to Super Bowl, I should
have to get paid.
All I'm saying is that
You have to get paid.
is that, and I get that.
And I know,
one thing about watching football and playing in it, and you know who's good, who's not. There's a lot of teams that a dude has a good year, like, yo, we gotta pay him.
Yep.
And then you pay him, and because back in your mind, if there's ever a doubt, should we pay him? I feel like with Brock Purdy, it is a doubt. But it's just like if he wins, like, we gotta pay him. But it's all right, because when you pay him and then when you get the results later, it's like.
Isn't that the same thing with everybody, though? The reason I say that is, well, hold on. You say this all the time, and I agree with you. I've never seen Joe Burrow without talent. Never seen it. I've never seen it. In college, he had Randy Moss's son. He had Justin Jefferson. He had Jamar Chase. He had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Not to mention on defense, he had Patrick Queen.
Right.
I've never seen him without talent. You get to the league, you got Jamar Chase, you got T. Higgins, you got Uzoma, I believe, you got Joe Mixon, you got Boyd. I've never seen him without talent.
Right.
He's going to lose T. Higgins more than likely this year. Justin Herbert, he was devoid of talent. That's why they weren't winning no games. You pay Jalen Hurts, the Eagles took a step back. Are we, like, preemptively punishing Brock Purdy for something that happens with everybody? They lose talent, they get worse. They lose talent, they get worse.
But everybody you talked about, when you see them play, are they in the same class? Huh? Hello? Yeah, I hate when y'all make me feel like this.
I understand where you're coming from when you're talking about classes, but we all know, too, Shady, the way the business is, he's the next man up. You talked about Nick Foles. How many MVP votes Nick Foles get?
Super Bowl MVP, though.
Nick Foles didn't even start the season, though. Carson Wentz was like 10-0 or something that season.
11-0
he had Philly rolling. And yes, you finished the season off. This young boy has started from week 1. And we were talking, too, when he did mess up on Trey Lance. We said if this didn't work out, he was going to get fired.
I never said that.
I think so.
He would have been out. So that's all I'm saying. If he loses or wins the Super Bowl and says we're not paying Brock Purdy and misses...
Before we let's ask y'all one question, though. If y'all the GM, right, and he wins the Super Bowl, do you have any doubt of paying him the top dollar amount?
Yes.
You have a doubt?
I do.
Do you have a doubt?
Yes. I would want to do a longer, more flexible deal.
Yes. But you have a doubt, is my question. In the back of your mind,
It depends on
when you turn your hair, you're like, we pay him? You have a doubt.
It depends on what he looks like in the Super Bowl.
When you popping your gum thinking like, yo, do you have a doubt?
I do, of course.
So that's my thing.
I would pay him, but I do have a doubt.
How am I going to pay this dude the highest paid dollar on my team, and I have a doubt.
Don't you think they had doubt about Dak? They had a doubt about Kyler? Don't you think they had a doubt?
Even Dak, though. Let's talk about Dak. There's times where Dak looks efficient of, okay, I can see him getting paid. I can see him getting paid. I don't know about the top dollar in the NFL, like y'all talking, but I can see him getting paid. You get what I'm saying? And I can pay Dak without having a doubt. He's good enough, he's a good player, boom, let's pay him.
You was the highest paid running back. So
you
take,
know it.
So
You
take,
know it.
So take yourself into Purdy's shoes. Hey, man, listen.
Don't ever put me in Purdy's shoes.
No, I'm saying. You done won the Super Bowl. Hey, take this. Right? And we can't pay you the highest pay because we don't know if you can carry. Take this. You're going to be looking at them brothers. Take what? I'm finna be the highest paid.
Alvin Morrison. Am I saying his name right?
Alfred Morrison.
Alfred.
Yeah.
Cool dude,
Washington.
right?
Yeah, Washington running back.
1 year, he had like
1,400.
a lot of yards. They're like, whoa, who's this guy? You think they made him the highest paid running back in the league?
I don't know.
No. You know why?
Running back different?
Because when you look at him, it's like, yo, is he really a difference maker?
But
or is he in the system?
But DeMarco Murray, they did make the highest paid in the league.
When?
After he rushed for 1,800 and he came to Philly. We made him the highest paid in the league.
I don't know if that's true.
Right, because you dipped off, and you went and you signed your deal in Buffalo,
I don't know if that's
and
true.
we made him the highest paid in the league.
I don't know if that's true.
But either way,
I don't know if that's true.
Either way, he got a lot of money, and you wouldn't say he
Ain't no one to bet on it. Ain't no one to bet on it.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.